This is Derek, father-in-law with the Medicine Shell, and today I'm going to discuss sin and ancestral spirituality, what is considered sin, and most importantly, what is considered divine law in Odinala Ndibo. Sin in all world systems equates a violation of divine law, and within the cosmology of our ancestors, this topic takes a unique definition. All things possess a chi, an intrinsic divinity that makes them who they are, what they desire to be, as well as ordaining what they will become. And because of this, the divine is not a separate being from the self that you will eventually meet, but a reality that you are currently in the presence of. And therefore, in Igbo spirituality, this topic is complex. But I'll explain what a sin is and what divine law is by examining the three dimensions of law and ancestral thoughts, what is considered a sin in each dimension, and how divine law is willed into existence in order to establish a perspective that'll make it easier to decode what is and is not a sin in Odinala Ndibo. As our ancestors understood divine law, punishment, judgment, and consequences from breaches of divine law happen in real time. The consequence of all ill relationship with divine order is witnessed and lived by us from day to day. And in our cosmology, your relationship with Chineke is divine, as is your relationship with family, community, and most importantly, yourself. For when an individual fights their chi, they fight themselves, and the consequences are felt in real time, through the natural order of cause and effect. And therefore, in the ancestral worldview, those who live in denial of themselves are already living in God's punishment, and those who know their truth know divine law. Beyond the self, one must remember that the chi manifests as life, and your relationship with the life around you is your relationship with the Creator. Your relationship with the people you encounter and the world you live in is your relationship with your Creator. What you wish on to others is what you wish on to your Creator. And what others wish on to you, they wish on to God. And this principle is one of the many layers of meaning given to the proverb, Manu bu Chibeya. This is only one level of understanding. In our cosmology, Chineke's ever-expanding design for the universe unravels with every passing day, willing divine law into fruition. And for the sake of this video, we will examine divine law at the following three levels. There is Iwu Okike, Iwala, and Awful. In Igbo cosmology, the divine feminine is the mother and keeper of all laws at all levels, and the divine masculine at all levels, the author who wills these laws into her to manifest them into reality. At each of the three levels of creation, you will see this formula repeat itself again and again to form Iwu, or law, within our universal understanding. The first level is Iwu Okike. Iwu Okike are the laws of creation. At this level, Chi speaks order onto the universe, or Eke, creation itself, and Chi brings them into existence. Iwu Okike are the laws of creation. These are the laws of nature, physics, mathematics, balance, and the universe's perpetual quest for growth and equilibrium. These are the laws by which nature is governed, the most pure actualization of Chineke's will. These laws include time, life and death, light and darkness, and all of what we would call the governance of physical reality today. Becoming a student of the natural world allows one to read the script for balance, order, and oneness with creation itself. The next manifestation of the Divine Mother is Allah. She is the keeper of Iwala. Allah is the earth itself, the resurrected form of Neke, who is the universal body which keeps Iwu Okike. Iwala are the oaths a nation's founders make to the land they occupy, which allows them to partake in the paradise of the nation and the land they have partitioned. When your ancestors first settled your ancestral land, they made a covenant with the earth. In this covenant, they agreed on a few simple but sacred edicts and creeds that will be followed by them and their descendants so long as they live on that land. If Iwala is followed, the nation that will come from the ancestors' progeny will prosper, and they will have paradise within the earth they have partitioned from themselves, as well as balance within themselves and nature. If it is violated, Allah will destroy and consume the nation as a whole, casting them from the land and stifling their access from the fruit of the earth. Once Iwala is established, the land becomes holy, and the affairs concerning the upholding and desecration of the land's holiness are known as Nso. Because Allah is a manifestation of the Divine Mother, we can better understand Nso by understanding the process of menstruation, which is also referred to as Nso. During regular menstruation, an egg that is not inseminated within a single onwa or moon cycle is expelled from the body. In this process, the woman's body releases the thickened lining of the uterus as well. What is produced in this process is disposed, and the cycle begins anew. This can also happen if the egg is inseminated, but the woman's body rejects it for one reason or another. On the earthly plane, if one's ancestors have made a promise to the earth in the form of Iwala, and we fail to uphold these principles, we, like the unfertilized egg, will be purged from the land and denied full fruition. So while Unso typically refers to the violation committed, it is better understood as the process by which Allah uses to cleanse and renew herself of the unholy. It is important to remember that the Divine Mother sees you as your ancestors, and therefore what they promised you have promised, and your violations weigh on all the people who share a common ancestor in the earthly plane. And therefore, Iwala forms the foundation of law and ethics in a community. But not all laws are bound to the earth. Most laws in a community exist within the framework of Iwala, but are typically decisions made by the Oha, the democratic assembly that forms government in Igbo communities. While Iwala differs slightly from community to community, the following are commandments that are universal to all communities in Ala Igbo. 1. Cannot commit incest. An individual cannot marry or sleep with anybody with a traceable common ancestor, a blood relation, or even in-laws, as well as children adopted into the family. 1. Cannot commit murder under any circumstance, including war and suicide. And I'll elaborate on this shortly. 1. Cannot shed the blood of another human being. And those who hold the Ofo must uphold its principles. These laws are universal in Ala Igbo, and by following these alone, you're sure to be within the bounds of Iwala within your community. Then there are protections against special individuals, typically those that symbolize Allah, such as the Osu and pregnant women. Any case of violence towards these people is considered a violation of Iwala. And then you will witness a set of laws that vary by community. These are usually laws designating which animals, trees, and spaces are sacred to the Earth Mother. While they differ from place to place based on that community's history, the following are animals often found on that list. There is the python, the snail, various monkeys, the tortoise, the eagle, and the ibis. It is interesting to note that if any of these animals attempt to kill each other, individuals may punish the killer as they would a person trying to kill another person, or a person trying to kill one of these animals. So if a python is seen swallowing another python, a monkey committing cannibalism, or an eagle for some reason killing another eagle, this is considered aru, or a violation of divine order. And in these cases, killing the offender is permitted, if killing is also the punishment for murder within your community. Then there are laws that protect and govern interactions with sacred trees or forests. For example, segments of a community will be designated as Ajofia. Ajofia, or the evil forest, is where the physical products of Aru are disposed. A community is not to build homes within the forest or cut from its trees. Often, there are also edicts that govern sacred trees such as the Oji, which produces the kola. One must also allow the branches of the Ogirishi tree to fall by themselves. The Ogirishi tree is the tree used to make the Ofo, and the Ofo cannot be made from a branch that did not shed itself. With Iwala in place, a community then makes its own laws through votes cast in the Oha, a Republican assembly of family heads entitled men. And therefore, communities will make laws pertaining to property, civil conduct, and the regulation of everyday life using the Ofo rather than the earth. In the court of law, individuals are made to swear innocence upon Allah through holding court at one of her shrines, or by simply holding the sands of the earth when giving testimony. It is therefore considered aru for an individual to lie upon the Earth Mother, or to approach her and her symbols with guilt in the heart. This violation can lead to destruction of the family and the community as a whole if she is not appeased in due time. For aru committed spreads like a virus, and those who have committed aru, or objects of aru such as the body of an individual who has committed suicide, are not to be touched or neared by innocent individuals. In this case, individuals under Allah's protection, such as the Osu, will bury the body of the offender in the Ajofia and cleanse the atmosphere which the crime was committed. And this act alone gives clues into ultimate judgment in the minds of our ancestors, which I will discuss at the end of this video. In order to know the Iwala of a land, it is wise to consult the elders or members of that community, as most of these laws are well understood by the average person. Iwala is typically very simple, universal laws that nearly all communities prohibit, such as incest and murder, though each community will have amendments and specifications based on its history and internal culture. After the Earth Mother, the next manifestation of the Divine Feminine is the Ofo, and from the Ofo comes the next layer of law. The Ofo is the staff of authority for a bloodline passed down from generation to generation, from the hands of the eldest son of the family to his own eldest son, as long as the lineage survives. The Ofo is the staff that allows an individual to represent the will of their ancestors in the present. The holder of the family Ofo is therefore the leader of the family, under the title Ejiofo, and with this designation keeps a dialogue running between the ancestors ancestors and living members of the family. As the holder of the family Ofo, it is the Ejiofor's duty to conduct morning prayers for the family. The Ejiofor is also the connection between the living and non-living members of the family unit, and during these morning prayers they are responsible for updating the ancestors on the affairs of the family. This includes speaking on family successes and failures, as well as asking for intervention for challenges ahead and in decisions to come. The Ejiofor also represents the family in the Aha. The Aha is the governing body of a community, assembled only when there is a specific community issue to be addressed and make a decision on. Traditional government was a non-permanent democratic assembly which was summoned when necessary and dissolved once problems were resolved. As the holder of the Ofo, the Ejiofor casts votes on behalf of the family in the interest of both the living and non-living members, and speaks on behalf of the lineage. The Ejiofor is also the family's arbiter, representing family members in court, or serving as a head judge in internal family affairs. When an individual within a family is accused of a crime against another person, court is assembled. In this court, the Ejiofor will speak on behalf of the individual they represent within their family, and work with the assembly of judges as well as the victim's family to agree on rightful restitution, which is important to remember for the end of this video. If a confession or a united narrative cannot be formed, the Ejiofor will stand for a test, the Iron Ring test being one of the most famous in Igbo land. When a confession cannot be made through words, or innocence fails to be proven, in many communities an iron ring is placed inside a boiling cauldron of water. It is then that the Ejiofor of each family will reach into the boiling pot and pull out the ring, as the rest of their family hold their shoulders, in solidarity. If the individual they represent is innocent, they will exit the exercise unscathed. But if the individual is guilty, their hand and fingers will boil with the ring and the hot water. And the psychology to the test is simple. Tests by fire rely on peace of mind, much like the modern lie detector test today, to decipher truth from lie. The heat will affect them minimally. If the individual hesitates, or has doubt in the outcome of the exercise due to shaky confidence in the character of the accused, the exercise will end in disaster for them. For our ancestors and for people in the present, the Ofo is the living embodiment of the collective will of a family, and is the instrument by which the family makes vows upon that will be upheld for the rest of time. For this reason, the Ofo symbolizes and forms the core of family law, which is also divine law as it is a part of ancestral will. An ancestor may decree a principle onto the Ofo, or a rule, which he wishes the rest of his lineage to follow for the rest of time. For example, there's a story in my community about a man who found a young boy who was lined up to be sold as a slave hundreds of years ago. The man felt great sadness knowing what was going to happen to the little boy, so he approached the slavers in anger and began swearing that the boy was his child, they should release him, this is his son. Now, because of his pleas and because he continuously vowed that this was his son, the slavers released the boy, despite the man never knowing the boy before seeing him at that site. That boy's descendants today cannot marry members of the man who freed him's descendants because due to the fact that he swore upon the Ofo that this was his child, they have now become family. And intermarriage between both families is now considered incest, despite having no blood relation. When an individual and family has kept true to the principles of the Ofo, they have opened their hands to receive blessings from their ancestors. This can be in the form of physical blessings, such as progeny and inheritance, or astral blessings, such as protection, guidance, wisdom, unity, and progress. In order for the ancestors to exact your wishes in the plane they exist in, it is your responsibility to exact theirs in ours. Through these examples, we see that divine law is manifest when the masculine element vows onto the feminine, and the feminine therefore keeps the creed and births it into reality for the rest of time. Chukwu vows on to Neke, which creates Iwokike, or natural law. Our founding ancestors vow on to the earth, and she keeps it as Iwala for the rest of time. And the patriarchs of our families swear on to the Ofo, and we as their children keep their will and pass it from generation to generation. And for this reason, it is believed in ancestral thoughts that divine judgment and punishment exist in real time. It is not something that you will witness upon death, or on a final day, but a living reality. The affairs of your life, the health of your nation, your relationships, the condition of your family, and your own self-actualization are a measure of your accord with the layers of divine law that you live under. So doing right by yourself, doing right by your family, doing right by your community and world, and doing right by the universe as whole is the summation of how to follow divine law within the way of our ancestors. And for you as an individual, Your chi has willed onto your existence a purpose in God's design. This is the law within you that we call destiny, self-actualization, or enlightenment, meaning that what is meant for you in this world is at the end of the road designed by your chi. And that's it. Thank you as always for watching my videos. I want to give a shout out to our current Patreons. I'm excluding last names because I don't want everybody's business out there. But if you want your full name included, let me know. Either way, thank you to Girls Room, Carl, Hess, Chinwe, Candice, Cynthia, Velma, Udochi, Ike, and Sheila. I really want to thank you guys for being a part of the team. If you like the content I'm currently creating and want to support my goal of being able to make these videos full time, you can make a pledge or a donation on the Patreon link below. Otherwise, let me know what topic you want to hear next. I was going to include the story of when Amadioha overthrew Allah. But I think that's best saved for another video. So if you want to hear that story, let me know. Or if you want me to elaborate on any of the topics I brought up in this video, that'd be great for another video as well. So go ahead and comment below. And if you can't donate, sharing this video on your socials is a great way to help. I had also mentioned in the video that killing in war was considered Aru, but that doesn't mean that our ancestors didn't go to war. In fact, a lot of early European documents and interviews they did with our neighbors in the south spoke on how difficult it was to penetrate Igbo land because the people were exceedingly warlike, and there was a great deal of recorded violent conflicts in the region between communities and alliances. In order for a community to go to war, despite it being considered Aru, the community would have to appeal to Amadioha or Ekwensu for protection against the earth's punishment. And after killing an individual in the war, you were to sever their head and bring it to the shrine of Ekwensu or Amadioha and appeal to the deceased person's spirit for understanding and forgiveness. Then when the war was over, if it was an Ekwensu shrine, it was to be destroyed immediately. And I cover a lot of this on my Ekwensu Explained video, so I'll link that. As always, this is Derek with The Medicine Shell, and thank you.